Hey, everybody, welcome to my guest tonight. I'm your host, Jeff Ravilla. I've got a great guest joining me tonight, Michael Dodsworth, a launch expert who's seen it all: servers crashing, fans raging, and bots breaking the internet. But instead of walking away, he built Fanfare, a platform that keeps brands cool when the chaos hits. Let's hear that theme song.
From the chaos of the crowd to the calm of the code, he's been there when the system explode. Built a platform for the fans to share a better world of hype that's fanfare. Click, 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 the fans can't wait. Midnight hits and the servers break. From meltdown moments to launch day fame, Michael Dodsworth changed the game. Now Jeffrey Villa's got him here. On my guest tonight, let's make it clear. No bots, no breaks, just hype done right. It's fanfare magic on your feet tonight.
I figured with a brand like Fanfare, we had to bring the heavy metal thunder for the intro song. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an amazing introduction that was.
There's a lot of foreshadowing in that song, too. We're going to hear a lot about things that were mentioned in there. And as you know, this show's kind of an origin story podcast. We like to go back and go through your history and meander and see all those little points that kind of made you who you are today and how you ended up where you are today. And was the industry and ticketing and events, was that an early interest for you way back?
It's actually something, I mean, I've always struggled getting tickets to any live events. I think we've all felt those pains. Like for me, it was like the Reading Festival, Leeds Festival way back in the UK. It's something that everyone has had some pain around. But my actual journey towards ticketing and trying to solve this problem actually came later in life. So I started life, you can hear from my accent, I'm probably not from around these parts, based in LA right now, but grew up in the UK. And I come from an engineering background. So it was actually my older brother bringing home a Commodore 64 one day that set me on this path, just on this path of building things from nothing, from kind of creating something from scratch is always something I've really enjoyed doing. And then found myself on these shores through acquisitions. First was Salesforce, a small startup that I joined in the UK, was scooped up by Salesforce in 2007. And then found my way through Optimizely, through into a live events ticketing company called Rival. And as you can tell from the name, like we were not trying to pull any punches with who we were going after. We were trying to solve that problem. The thing that everyone's been complaining about for probably 2 decades at this point is, why is ticketing still like this? Why is it expensive? Why am I stuck in a queue for 4 or 5 hours? Why am I just staring at this spinner with multiple tabs open? Why are bots able to come in and scoop up all of these tickets before I have a chance? So yeah, this is a long and winding road. There's definitely some scar tissue. I think in the song there, you were talking about some of those meltdowns that have happened. Like I've definitely felt some of those meltdowns myself. It's a painful thing to go through from a vendor's perspective. So trying to create something to allow vendors to ease that pain for their consumers, but also ease their pain in running an event like this.
With that engineering background and the history, your love of events and music, and the struggle to get into the queue to get tickets, was there like a tipping point that you can recall? Was there a specific show you were just like, I'm going to get tickets, it's going to be the best time of my life, and then you're locked out, like it's over before it even starts?
Yeah, for me, it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's every time I'm trying to get whatever it is, whether I'm trying to get Oasis tickets, whether I'm trying to go to the Leeds Festival or conferences, like experience that same terrible queuing mechanic, feeling like everything just disappears before I have a chance. And then the moment for me creating Fanfare was seeing it outside of ticketing. So we'd been building out a system to deal with like the Taylor Swift on sales of the world, like the 3 million, 4 million Swifties turn up all at once, and you have to keep your service up. You have to keep it running. And there's all kinds of things you can try and do to move people who are real fans ahead of everyone else to try and create a fair and transparent process. But then at the start of the pandemic, and after leaving Ticketmaster, so I spent some time at Ticketmaster, just feeling the same pain when I go into a sneaker drop or when I try and buy. At the time, I think it was graphics cards were impossible to get a hold of, but you see it every single time the Switch 2 goes on sale, whether it's like some new piece of tech, whether it's something in apparel, streetwear, footwear, like it's always the same terrible, terrible consumer experience.
So you immersed yourself in that. You were, you mentioned Ticketmaster a little bit. You were working in the industry, and you thought, like, was there a point you're like, you just mentioned all the pain points. Did you have a revelation? Like, I think I can fix this. I think I have a better way. Did you realize something during your time there or after?
Yeah, I think it was Rival trying to build a system to deal with those kind of situations, just really understanding the scope of the problem. Like, it's not just 3 or 4 million people showing up, it's people trying to game the system. It's very sophisticated people who have a very big incentive to come in and ruin your day. Like, if you're a fan, a promoter, anything, it's people coming in and ruining your day. So having spent some time building that on the ticketing side and then seeing it both in real life through the pandemic and then online in all kinds of product drops, knowing that we'd solved this problem, like we'd provided something that could deal with these kind of events in a reasonable way, and like seeing just such a massive like a gap, like seeing just a massive opportunity for retailers and brands to do something with those experiences. Like right now they're so flat and such a low bar has been set through them. I think there's all kinds of information that brands are missing out on. People who show up time and time again but are just unlucky or just don't want to wait 3 or 4 hours. Like these are potential VIPs that you don't have a chance to engage. Like it's a huge missed opportunity.
Let's talk about that. So, instead of just trying to get to the website the fastest and beat the bots and beat the scalpers and beat everybody who's running software to get tickets, you've come up with this better way. And whenever you developed it and released it, before you explained to us what it is, when you started explaining this idea to other people, was it easily received, or did you really have to kind of like, well, this is my idea, I think we can do it this way, or did people take to it right away?
Yeah, I think everyone has felt that pain, which is like an immediate like reaction from brands and retailers from a consumer's perspective. I think it's a little bit harder to talk about how the tech would integrate and how you would use this, but the pain is there. Like everyone's tried to get tickets to a live event. Everyone's tried to get the table at the hot new restaurant, or everyone's tried to go through a sneaker drop or tried to get some exclusive luxury item and felt like this process just isn't fair. Like, I keep showing up time and time again for this brand, and every time I fail. Like, why is it that this is so painful? So I think it's an easy thing for people to grok in terms of a consumer problem. I think it's more difficult to help brands and retailers identify the gap, the opportunity there when you have this audience that you're driving through to an experience, what you can do with that experience.
You mentioned a couple of things there too that caught my eye: of fairness, scalability, and getting people to trust the process. And you have to solve for these three problems simultaneously. What is your approach to doing this? So how do we bring together the event creators and the people who want to get tickets to them?
Yeah, I mean, the first step is making sure that you can deal with that surge in traffic. That's often where some of these brands will fall down. So, you have a viral moment and you have like maybe you're Dr. Squatch and you have a collaboration with Sydney Sweeney and your servers just collapse under the weight of that traffic. Like that's the first step, just avoiding that complete failure to capture people's interest and be able to serve people in that moment. I think bots are an enormous part of this. If people feel like when I go to an event and I try and buy these things and I look over the fence at the secondary market and I can see them going for 10x, 100x the price, like what gives? Like how did they get through and I didn't? How did all of these resellers get through and I didn't? So screening those people out and trying to identify real fans and make sure those real fans get access to the product. So I think that's also a big part of what we do. And then the third part is being able to provide something in that experience. Like right now, people just stare at a spinner for multiple hours. There's a really good example that we showed during our pre-seed raise, which was Disney's season pass sale. So something that they go through multiple times a year. And there's a huge banner when you go to that season ticket sale, which says like, you may be in this queue for 24 hours. Please don't get up and go away from your desk. Like whatever you do, you can't leave your place in line because you may miss your opportunity. Like this is not how you treat, people who are spending thousands of dollars on a Disney season pass. There's all kinds of information you could show to them. There's all kinds of content you could recommend to them. There's all kinds of things that you could be doing around product recommendations, around capturing some engagement from those users that just Disney aren't doing. And these are well-resourced organizations just failing to capture that moment.
And as you build up these systems in the process for making it fairer, the first iteration couldn't have been a perfect success. What are some of the lessons you've learned along the way? Because you even mentioned that even the Ticketmasters have scaling problems at times. Their servers crash, and you're coming into the market now, and you had to learn some lessons to make this fair and scalable. What were some early hurdles you encountered?
Yeah, I think knowing that this was going to be something that a large surge in traffic would just show up to all at once. Like I definitely been through times at Salesforce, at Optimizely, where that had happened before. So Optimizely, like newsworthy events we would find out about them from PagerDuty calling us because the servers were having a bad time. So we've tried to build this idea of scalable platforms into the system from the very beginning. So everything we do is built with this in mind, that it has to deal with these huge surges and then the traffic vanishing almost immediately. We have to deal with that in an effective and efficient way. So that's been a key part of it. I think key learnings, just keep it simple. There's all kinds of things that you'll find with people's setup, especially focusing on Gen Z and people who are, looking at streetwear products, footwear products, like those kind of folks. They may not have things enabled that you just kind of want them to have enabled on the tech side. And the more complicated you make a process, the more opportunities there is to fail some percentage of those fans. So just keeping the whole process as simple and as well architected as possible.
Have you had a chance to really test and flex the system? Have you had some peak traffic?
Yeah, we try to keep in front of that by running our own tests at high scale. So making sure that the millions of people showing up isn't a surprise to us. So we definitely have some internal tests that really, really stress the system. In terms of customers doing that, we've never had an issue with customers pushing us beyond what we test internally. And again, that's from the very beginning, knowing that we were dealing with these kind of situations and trying to keep in front of our customers always.
Yeah, the reason I asked those last two questions, because you describe yourself as part internet firefighter and part launch therapist, right? So you have clients, you have to manage their expectations, and you have people who want to get their product. So you're constantly in this push and pull between these two groups.
Yeah, and customers often come to us from a situation that they've been burned in the past, right? They've run a drop before and they've had a bad time. Maybe their vendor fell over. Maybe they fell over. and they ended up getting dragged on social media because the fans felt like they were frustrated in that moment. Like you've created anticipation for a product and you couldn't serve them. So we definitely, the therapy comes in at that point. And just coming at it from a place of understanding. Like I've been in situations like this before. It's a situation that no brand really can get their arms around. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and we're here to help. So that's where we come at this from. Just trying to help these brands use this incredibly powerful tool and not be dragged on social media.
Let's say a brand comes out with a limited edition, a limited run of maybe only 1,000 units are available. How does Fanfare approach that so that it is fair, that, and people understand that this is the process, that, everybody's eligible to get one, but we have to figure out the process. So how do you approach a situation like that?
Yeah, I mean, we can provide different experiences. So depending on what the brand wants, we can either have like a first in, first out queuing system, where like the very first people to show up will be the first people to get through the process, or a live random drawing. Really depends on what kind of feel the brand is going for. But just making sure that everything is set up way ahead of time to make sure that all of the various configuration options that we have are in the right place. If you have 1,000 items and you're expecting 1,000,000 people to show up, you have to know that a lot of these people are not going to get through the process, and add them to the wait list to make sure that they can come in early stages in the next drop that you do, to make sure you move them in forward in line for the next drop you do. And that's an important part too, is like identifying your real fans. So if people show up and they're not in that 1,000 people who are successful, like that's important signal. You should definitely try and move these people ahead the next time you have a drop. So over time, you at least people feel like there's some rewards for their time and effort in these processes, and they're not just kind of out in the cold every time you go through them.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. I mean, if you don't want to burn 999,900
Right.
fans,
Mm-hmm.
so using that data and for future campaigns. So you have a limited release, but not everybody can get it. But now you know who's showing up and who's interested in your brand for whatever, for future releases, for maybe even like a special event, a live stream or something where you can do a meet and greet. So there's certain, how do you see some brands handle that overflow? You have a certain strategy that you recommend to them?
Yeah, I guess there's two parts to that. One is just proper management of the wait list. So a lot of brands will have just this giant set of users that they have in their waitlist for a product, and they'll have multiple on sales that they'll do. And I mean, we've all been through this process too, where it's just a free for all every single time. Like an email blast goes out to all of the people on the waitlist, and everyone just piles in and tries to get that product. We try and make sure that if you were close the last time, you're first in line the next time. So there's some fairness in how we run the waitlist. And in terms of running the drop, there's also some really interesting things you can do. Like I said, moving people forward in line, identifying real fans. There's also kinds of other signals that we can pull from outside the system. Maybe people engage with your brand in different ways. Maybe they engage with the content you put on social media. Maybe they come into the store repeatedly. Like those are real fans of the brand too. And we can work those signals into our own signals to then move people ahead and make sure they get the product.
Are there any types of brands or artists that this works better for than others, or do you see the platform pretty agnostic and we can help anybody?
Yeah, I think our focus has been definitely on the people who are used to running this model already. So people like streetwear brands, footwear brands who are familiar with the drop model and are just struggling to deal with that surge in traffic, the bots, and so on. But I do see this as just any place that there are queues, any place where people gravitate towards, and you can build an audience and drive them through to an experience. is an opportunity here. We've definitely had use cases around campsites, where there's scarcity for the places when they go on sale, and they infrequently go on sale. So we can put up a fair process for anything really where you have that kind of scarcity.
And we mentioned ticketing, right, for concerts and events, and there's the 2,000-pound elephant in the room is this integrated silo that's been taken over the entire entertainment industry, from ticketing to events to concessions to owning the artists. And do you see Fanfare maybe, not replacing them or putting them out of business, but maybe starting to crack that armor a little bit, maybe starting to show fans that there's could be a better way to be treated, by your company and the brands, and not just some giant corporate conglomerate sucking the all the money out of the industry.
Yeah, that's my hope. That's always been my hope, is that we can provide meaningful competition. So there's some innovation and there's some improvement for the consumer experience for live events. It's been far too long. I would say, like, we can help out for not just people like a Ticketmaster, but also all of the up and comers. Like, this is a really important, difficult challenge to get through if you're going after the likes of a Ticketmaster. So we can come in and we can help you get over that massive hump that you have in implementing a process. So, trying to ease the process for up and coming vendors, for other vendors who are trying to compete and, unseat the conglomerates of the world. So that's, I think, where we can provide help. I would love to be able to help even a Ticketmaster with just their painful process. I think we can make a meaningful improvement. Even just things like capturing users' intent. I have these dates that I can show up for. Here's my price range. Here's the number of seats that I want. Like, that kind of information can then help you in feeding people through to the actual, like, on sale experience.
So in the short term, it could be supplemental too, until the public's ready, to fully, like, I think I trust this system a little bit better. I'm gonna just make sure I go to events that are on this platform instead of another platform, because of the experience, because of the way we're treated, because of the access. I actually have access to getting or having a chance of getting a ticket.
Yeah, I think when consumers start advocating for Fanfare, like, this is the vendor that I trust. This is the vendor that I want to go to if I'm going through a process like that. I think that's the perfect setup for us. So we aim to provide a service that customers can trust in that way, and eventually try and help out even the largest of these vendors.
And knowing that intention, and knowing that there's an opportunity here in the market, where do you see Fanfare in 5 years from now? Where do you see it going or evolving into?
Yeah, like I say, any opportunity where you're creating a moment around a product, like a scarce product in particular, I think is a great opportunity for us, and that goes beyond just online. And I would love to venture out into in real life experiences, like going all the way back to live events, having 60,000, 70,000 people in a venue, all pointing their phones up to a sky to attend some kind of product launch that's exclusive just to the people in that venue, I think would be really compelling. So I really want to create experiences, or just allow brands to create interesting experiences around these on sales. Like, I think about the moments in my past that really have stuck with me, the things that I've bought in the past that have really stuck with me. And it's been like a smooth experience start to finish. And it's usually like a brand created something special. I think my earliest memory, was buying Super Metroid limited edition for the Super Nintendo way back. Like, that still sticks with me. I probably still gravitate towards Nintendo over everyone else because they created such a cool experience. So I want to help brands do that in the future.
Well, we looked forward, so we got to look back. We started the journey today of, what was your interest? How did you get into this? So where you are now, what would you tell your younger self, or even somebody who's thinking about getting into the industry, who loves the idea of entertainment and providing services for people, what would you tell your younger self about this journey that you've been on so far?
Yeah, I think my advice would always be trust in the process and keep going. Right. I think anything that's worth doing is always going to be challenging, and it's always going to take significant toil. And it's important to just believe that you'll get there and just kind of break off parts of the problem and just focus and work through and work through and work through. And eventually you'll get there. I think that's what served me through my career, is like trying to just go above and beyond and just try and break problems down best you can. And just rather than try and swallow the whole thing, you can just nibble off little pieces of it. So that would be my advice to myself. I think given where we are with the tooling that's available right now, I would say there are more and more problems that people see out in the world that are addressable by a smaller team. And you can create something that's focused to a particular problem. You don't have to create like a large generic platform to solve that. And I think all of the AI tooling makes some of this just so much more approachable than it ever was before. Like, I think starting a company, just starting something from the very beginning, there's always enormous gaps that you need to fill. And I feel like the tooling that's available right now can just help you bridge those gaps much more quickly than you would normally. So I would say for people thinking about doing something like this, like, now is an incredible time, I think. There's just so much you can do with a small team. And there's so many problems that you can go after that I think even 2 years ago, you probably wouldn't go after without significant funding and so on.
Awesome, Michael. It's been so much fun. I have your website right here. If you want to tell people, how can they check out Fanfare, and what's the best way to get in contact with you, or maybe even talk to somebody at the company about they have an idea and they just don't know where to go. Maybe Fanfare is the right solution for them.
Yeah, so Fanfare just integrates anywhere that you have a product on sale. So we can integrate into your product page. If you're a Shopify vendor, there's a Shopify integration. You can flip the switch and start using the service. So please reach out on LinkedIn. You can usually find me for my sins at all hours on LinkedIn. So please grab some of my time and head over to fanfare.io. And in particular, we've started creating case studies and blog articles around drops that have gone well, drops that have not gone so well, and how you can avoid those headaches if you're thinking about doing something like this yourself. So yeah, please reach out.
Fanfare.io. I'll have the links in the show notes. Let's go back to that theme song.
From the chaos of the crowd to the calm of the code, he's been there when the system explode. Built a platform for the fans to share a better world of hype that fanfare. Click, 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 the fans can't wait. Midnight hits and the servers break. From meltdown moments to launch day fame, Michael Dodsworth changed the game. Now Jeffrey and Villa's got him here. On my guest tonight, let's make it clear. No bots, no breaks, just hype done right. It's fanfare magic on your feet tonight.
It's always amazing to me how the song is different at the end of the show than it is at the beginning of the show. You hear it the first time, but then we covered everything. And then you hear the song again. You're like, wow, we covered almost all of that.
That is superb. That's fantastic. I can't believe how, like, the lyrics, like everything about it is amazing. So that's I'm incredibly impressed with the theme song.